With the NBA regular season coming to a close, I wanted to drop every single team that's either fighting for a play-in tournament spot or going to be competing in the 2025 NBA playoffs into certain tiers that I think they really have a chance at winning the 2025 NBA title. Because we've had a different finals champion every single year since 2018, so the odds are in favor that we're going to have a new one this year. We'll see if Boston has anything to say about that. So I have 3 teams in my bottom tier, and that's pretty much stay the course, but we'll see you next year. You may end up in the play-in tournament, you may not, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world. You either have your core locked up or you're kind of rebuilding at the moment. And the first team in that bucket, the Chicago Bulls. They've been one of the more exciting teams after the All-Star break since they traded away Zach LaVine. That's because of Josh Giddey being one of the best playmakers in the league since that span. Montas Buzelis taking strides as a rookie and looks like long-term, he's one of the best rookies you want to build around from this class. And Kobe White has been on a flame-throwing hot streak as of late. The Chicago Bulls are a top 10 team in terms of net rating since the All-Star break. Now, in terms of landing a top-end talent in the draft, it would not be wise for Chicago to make the playoffs this year, but these guys are playing very hard and they're going to be okay long term, even if they make the playoffs or don't this year. That would also be very similar with the Atlanta Hawks. It's not the end of the world if they don't end up in the play-in tournament or the playoffs this year. Yes, they don't own their first round pick in the 2025 draft, but if you're giving pick 14, 13, or 12 to San Antonio, it's not the end of the world. Zachary Vesachet has been a legitimate building block for your team this year and looks like a top 3 rookie. You're going to get Jalen Johnson back fully healthy. Dyson Daniels has broken out this year, and Trae Young is one of the best initiators in the league. You're going to add talent in the offseason. Still may have 2 first-round picks. The Hawks are going to be just fine for 2026. And the last team there, the Orlando Magic. I do think they are by far the best team out of these 3, even with the Jalen Suggs injury. Paolo Banchero recently won Player of the Week, and he looks fully healthy again, and he can give you 30 points any single night right now, and he's still just 22. Franz Wagner is a great side piece to Paolo Banchero that can still play really good defense. Yes, they can't shoot, and that's probably going to be their demise this year in 2025, but they're going to get fully healthy next year. They're going to build internally. They're definitely going to have a fine future regardless of what happens over the next few weeks. And I got 4 teams in my next tier. It's not going to be your year this year, and it may not be for a while because they're going to have big decisions to make over the next few weeks and in the 2025 offseason on what direction they want to go in. First team here is the Dallas Mavericks. They made one of the massive moves at the 2025 trade deadline. I mentioned them in a video last week saying that they have very big decisions to make going forward. They're one of the worst teams after the All-Star break because of all the injuries they have. Kyrie Irving may miss all of the 2026 season. You're not going to be able to rely on Anthony Davis as he gets into his 30s. There's extensions looming for Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington. Klay Thompson isn't getting any younger. Maybe they get some lottery luck this year and that's going to determine their path going forward. But even if they make the play-in tournament, I don't think they're getting out of it, and I can't confidently say they're going to be back in the playoffs in 2026. Next up, you got the Phoenix Suns. They are also a bottom 10 team since the All-Star break. They have a negative net rating over their last 21 games. All eyes are going to be on Kevin Durant this offseason. Is he going to re-sign with Phoenix? Are they going to trade him? This team desperately needs to get out of the second apron to allow more financial flexibility going forward. Maybe a team will be willing to take on Bradley Beal this offseason now that they have one less year that they would have to owe in terms of his contract. But they need to add defense on the perimeter. They need to add defense inside in the paint. And if they're trotting out 80% of the same roster next year, they're going to end up in a very similar spot. What direction is Sacramento going to go into in the offseason? Even if they sneak into the play-in tournament, they're going to have to win 2 games on the road at the moment. That's going to be very tough to do. The core right now of LaVine, DeRozan, and Sabonis hasn't been as effective as they would have liked. There has been a Sabonis injury after the All-Star break, but either way, this team has had very disappointing losses. They can't beat good teams. They can't finish out games in the clutch. I think they're going to have to reevaluate their roster in a few weeks. And the last team in that tier, we have one in the Eastern Conference. That's going to be the Miami Heat. The Heat have pretty much been league average since the All-Star break, but this is a team that's going to have to evaluate what they have going forward. Are they going to try to go all in the offseason and trade for somebody like Kevin Durant? Are they going to try to sell high on some of their younger pieces like Jaime Jaquez and Nikola Jovic? And will they end up getting lucky in the lottery? Their pick is also lottery protected, so it would be wise for them to keep that pick this year. But hey, if that ends up at pick number 14 and they're bad again next year, that could end up being a better pick that goes to Oklahoma City in 2026 because of course it's going to OKC. Here in tier number 3, they're going to be making the playoffs this year as a top 6 seed. They may even host a playoff series and get that game 7 at home, but they're playing with house money. It's not the end of the world if they lose in round number 1. They're going to be fine this year and going forward. First team in that tier has to be the Detroit Pistons. They were the worst team in the NBA last year. They were the laughing stock, and they've been a top 5 team since the All-Star break. They're 13-7 in their last 20. Cade Cunningham has been injured as of late, and this team has stepped up. Without him, they play very physical. They play very tough. I wouldn't want to mess with Ron Holland or Isaiah Stewart dribbling into that paint. Malik Beasley has been one of the best storylines this year, picking him up for basically nothing in the offseason when nobody wanted him and everybody's rallying around Cade Cunningham as the #1 option. Maybe they pull off an upset, maybe they get swept. Either way, the season has been a massive success regardless of what happens in the playoffs. I would say they're objectively better than the Detroit Pistons right now, but they also haven't made it to the playoffs since they traded away James Harden. The Houston Rockets are also falling into this tier. They got off to a hot start this year and they struggled in the middle of the year when they had all those injuries, but over their last 20 games, they have been a top 10 team in the NBA, led by Amen Thompson, Alperen Şengün, and we got Jalen Green in the month of March, what he usually does. This team could legitimately win a playoff series or two, depending on who they go up against in the playoffs, but like I said, similar to Detroit, if they lose in round #1, it's not the end of the world. They're one of the younger teams in the league, and the sky is the limit for this Rockets young core. Here are the teams that we expected to be good this year, and they ended up being just fine, but this tier is going to be, I can't see you past round #2. Maybe you get a round 1 series victory, but I'd be very shocked if I saw you in the conference finals this year. First team we got to talk about, the Milwaukee Bucks. They've been up and down all year long. They're pretty much league average since the All-Star break, and then there's the Damian Lillard blood clot. As he's going to be out indefinitely, we don't know if he's going to be back for their round 1 series, which seems like it's going to be against the New York Knicks, a team they've had no success against this year, as they are 0-3 against them so far, with losses by 22, 34, and by 9. Bobby Portis recently got suspended. How is he going to look to ramp up into things? And I would be shocked on another level if they're able to beat a Cleveland or a Boston in round #2 if they get past a Detroit, Indiana, or New York in round #1. Giannis has been playing like a top 3 player yet again, but it does seem like he's not going to make it to the conference finals, something he hasn't done since that 2021 season. Next up in that tier, I do have the Memphis Grizzlies, a team that shocked everybody when they fired Taylor Jenkins with less than 10 games to go. The Grizzlies have also been a bottom 10 team in terms of net rating since the All-Star break, and their record against teams better than 500 this year, 11-23, one of the worst out of the teams we'll talk about that think they can win a round 1 playoff series. Now it does look like we're getting back the Ja Morant of old. He looks more involved and comfortable in this offense, and he's been on a tear as of late. Ja over his last 8 games is averaging 31 points, 7.5 assists, and is shooting 54% from the field. So we'll see what version of Ja we get in the playoffs. There are some teams that I would like Memphis against in round #1, like a Houston, or maybe Denver or the Clippers if they got those teams, but I do think the odds aren't going to be in their favor, where they're going to get a nice path to the conference finals. So I wouldn't be entirely shocked if they lost in round #1, but I'd be way more shocked if they somehow won 2 playoff series in a row this year. Another team that has struggled against some top teams has to be the New York Knicks. They are 0-7 this year against the Cavs, the Celtics, and the Oklahoma City Thunder. This team has been led by their starting 5, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Karl Anthony Towns. And Jalen Brunson, their best player for the last few years, is dealing with a severe ankle injury. It does look like he may come back in the final week of the NBA regular season and should be healthy for round #1. And I would expect the Knicks to get out of round 1. It would be a massive disappointment if that ends up not happening, but I just can't see this team beating Boston or Cleveland 4 times in 7 games, and they haven't really been able to do that all year long. Yes, OG Anunoby has looked great in the Jalen Brunson injury, but Karl Anthony Towns has been dealing with some injuries this year. How are the miles on Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart going to look like in the playoffs? They have no bench, basically. They can really only go 7 to 8 guys, and how much can you rely on Miles McBride, who's been banged up this year? Same with Mitchell Robinson or Landry Shamet, who's playing big time minutes for them right now. The Knicks have a great offense, but they have a lackluster defense, and I don't think they're going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and lose in round 2 for the 3rd year in a row. And the last team I have in this tier, the LA Clippers. I thought about throwing them in the house money tier because before the season even started, a lot of people thought, including me, that the LA Clippers could have a season of disaster with the Kawhi Leonard injury, but now he looks phenomenal, and I can't see this team making it to the conference finals, even with their elite defense, but I would not be surprised if they ended up winning a series in round #1. Since the All-Star break, they've been a top 10 team in the NBA, and Kawhi Leonard looks like the Kawhi Leonard of old as of late. He's playing more consistently, and over Kawhi's last 13 games, he's averaging 25 points, 7 rebounds, and is shooting 52% from the field and 40% from 3. If we can get 80-90% of what Kawhi Leonard looked like back in 2019, or even in the early Clippers days, this team could make a run, and they could be this year's team that shocks everybody, kind of in the past, like the Indiana Pacers from 2024, the Miami Heat in 2023, Atlanta Hawks in 2021, and the Clippers' ability to slow the game down, rely on their veterans like Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, and Norman Powell offensively this year, tier could allow them to pull off an upset or two, and they have a great defensive center, Ivica Zubac, a good defensive partner next to him in that front court in Derrick Jones Jr., and I like their chances to make it to the conference finals out of everybody in this tier. Second to last tier here, the Frisky Conference Finals. I do think these teams have a better chance to making it to the conference finals than the aforementioned 4 teams of the Bucks, Grizzlies, Clippers, and Knicks. First off, we have a team that upsetted 2 teams last year. They beat the Bucks and the Knicks to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, the Indiana Pacers, who are also playing some of their best basketball as of late. Tyrese Halliburton has been on a tear as of late and still looks like one of the best point guards in the NBA. Like the Clippers, they've also been a top 10 team since the All-Star break, something you can't say the same about the Milwaukee Bucks or the New York Knicks. They're also a deep team as well. You add in Andrew Nembhard, who's one of the better, more underrated defenders in the NBA, Aaron Nesmith, Obi Toppin, Miles Turner, Benedict Mathurin, Jarris Walker. This is a fairly deep team compared to the Milwaukee Bucks and the New York Knicks, and if there was going to be one team in the East that I think could upset the Celtics or the Cavs in round number 2, I think I would bet on the Indiana Pacers. This team is 3rd in net rating since the All-Star break. They're 16-4 over their last 20 games. I got the Golden State Warriors in this tier. They made a win-now move, acquiring Jimmy Butler at the deadline, and it's looked like a fantastic deal so far. They recently got Jonathan Kuminga back as well, and Steph Curry is putting up performances that we saw back in 2015 and 2016. He recently had a 52-point, 12 three-pointer game against the Memphis Grizzlies, and everything is coming together for this team because now Jimmy Butler is one of the best complementary pieces out of some of these teams. Draymond Green may end up winning Defensive Player of the Year. Brandon Podziemski has been playing some better basketball as of late. They hit on their 2nd round pick with Quinton Post. This team could legitimately go to the conference finals depending on the seeding and give Oklahoma City a run for their money. But I also got to respect the LA Lakers in this tier as well because their 3-headed trio of LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and Austin Reeves may be the best offensive trio out of any of these teams left. And Austin Reeves is a major X factor for the LA Lakers because since February 20th, a 19-game sample size, Austin Reeves is averaging 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. It really just depends how their defense is going to look like in the playoffs. Can they just score enough to get past 3 rounds in the West? Because we know they could score. We know they could score 130 points a night, but can they defend against some really good offenses in the West? Although the defensive metrics do like them since the All-Star break, I'm still a little hesitant to say that this defense is going to hold up with Reeves, Luka, and LeBron out there for 35 minutes a night. And my favorite wildcard team here in the NBA playoffs, the Minnesota Timberwolves. I do think there's a chance they could end up in the NBA Finals. Their defense got slightly worse this year, but their offense got even better, and this is with a team that's had multiple injuries this year to Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, and Anthony Edwards has elevated himself once again into a new tier and can legitimately be a number 1 on a title team. You have great perimeter defenders like Jaden McDaniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who looked phenomenal last year. I think that will carry over this year. They end up getting Denver in round number 2. They've had their success against them in the regular season and last year in the playoffs, and we could see Minnesota in the Western Conference Finals, but it depends if they end up in the play-in tournament or not. That's going to be very key for a lot of these teams. And the last team in this tier, we got the Denver Nuggets. They have somebody that just put up a 60-point triple-double in Nikola Jokic, and they still lost the game. So I don't know if it's going to be some of their overall team weaknesses that can hold them back, or maybe it's just one specific player who I'm not going to mention that blew that game against Minnesota back on Tuesday night. Jamal Murray has stepped up his game in the playoffs before, more so in 2023 than in 2024. If Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown, Julian Strawther, and Russ can all be healthy and on their A game, they could definitely end up back in the NBA Finals because they have the best player in the NBA in Nikola Jokic. So in my finals or bust tier, if you do not win the NBA Finals this year, it's going to feel like a disappointment, or at least make it to the NBA Finals. First up, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder. We may look back on the 2025 Oklahoma City Thunder as one of the best teams of all time if they win the 2025 NBA championship. They are the number 1 defensive team in the league, the number 3 offensive team. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to win MVP this year. J-Dub was an all-star and may end up on an all-NBA 2nd or 3rd team this year as well. Chad Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein are an elite defensive duo together, and then they have the best complementary pieces around those guys like Lou Dort, Kaysen Wallace, Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Jay Will, AJ Mitchell is coming back. Kenrich Williams is an underrated defender. This team is incredibly deep, and when the game slows down in the playoffs, they have guys that can score in isolation like J-Dub and Shea, and they have the best defense in the NBA, and defense does win championships. Second to last team here, the Boston Celtics. They are the reigning NBA champions, and they have the roster yet again to win another NBA title. How will Kristaps Porzingis look like? Can Jason Tatum showcase that he is one of the best players in the NBA and should be in that Shea, Giannis, Jokic tier? Jaylen Brown's been a little shaky this year. Will he step up in the playoffs yet again again like he did last year? How will Drew Holiday and Derek White look defensively this year? Peyton Pritchard has stepped up and is one of the best bench scorers in the league. Al Horford is going to be playing like this till he's 100 years old. And Sam Hauser is shooting 41% from 3. This is a championship caliber roster yet again. And lastly, we do have the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have been the best team in the Eastern Conference for most, if not all, of the NBA season. It's because of their elite backcourt in Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. It's because of their elite frontcourt in Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. You add in DeAndre Hunter at the trade deadline, one of the more improved players this year, and could end up winning Sixth Man of the Year in Ty Jerome. This is a team that could also win the NBA title. But like Boston, this team has to beat another elite team here in the Eastern Conference Finals. And if they go up against the Thunder, you have to beat the second and third best teams to win it all. I do wonder how Boston is going to match up against this frontcourt. Could the Mazzulla ball strategy, having 5 out, be the downfall of the Cleveland Cavaliers with Jared Allen as that 5? But with Mobley taking a step this year, Allen is a great defender, and they have a deep team, and in Max Strus, Dean Wade off the bench. This team could definitely get their first title since 2016. So that is going to be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know what you agree with or disagree with down below. Let me know if you would have changed anything throughout these tiers. Hit that thumbs up if you did enjoy. Hit that subscribe button if you're new, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.